I read something last night, a confession from someone who called themselves a proud avoidant. And I swear to you, what I read didn't just hit me. It ripped through my soul like a scream in silence. When I was done reading, I didn't feel pity. I didn't feel judgment. I felt a terrifying recognition because their story was yours. It was mine. It was all of us pretending we're fine when we're dying for connection. You think they cold? You think they don't care? You think they're heartless, robotic, emotionally disconnected? But what if I told you the truth is far more terrifying than that? If I told you that behind every avoidant person is not a stone, cold soul, but someone who's drowning in emotion, choking on love they've never learned how to handle, screaming inside a cage they built to protect themselves. Avoidants aren't cold. They're terrified. They are not absent of feeling. They are absolutely flooded by it. So much so they have to shut down completely just to survive it. Let me say that again for the people in the back. Avoidance is not the absence of emotion. It's the overload of it. It's a person who feels so much that they had to train themselves to feel nothing. It's a nervous system stuck in red alert, constantly scanning for danger, always assuming closeness equals collapse. You're not dealing with apathy. You're dealing with someone who was taught that vulnerability equals pain, that love equals loss, that intimacy equals being trapped, betrayed, abandoned, or smothered. So they adapted, they armored up. And what does that armor look like? Detachment, isolation, dismissiveness, perfectionism, hyper-independent ghosting, silence. I'm fine. I don't need anyone. I prefer to be alone. Sound familiar? None of that is real strength. That's fear dressed up as freedom. That's trauma disguised as self-reliance. Because let's be honest, real strength isn't found in disappearing. Real strength is found in staying. The avoidant doesn't know how to stay because somewhere in their past, whether it was a cold parent, inconsistent affection, or emotional betrayal, they learned that getting close is dangerous. They learned that love is a weapon. That letting someone in is the fastest way to lose everything. So now even when they meet someone safe, someone who genuinely loves them, they can't receive it. The moment things get good, the moment someone gets close, their brain goes into lockdown. They shut down, they sabotage, they distance. Not because they don't feel, but because they feel too much. And the brain says, we've been here before. This is dangerous. Are you in? And they do. Over and over and over again. And if you're that person, if you're watching this right now and thinking, God, that's me, I want you to know something. You're not broken. You're not defective. You're not emotionally dead. You are protected, overprotected. And that protection kept you safe once. It saved your life, but now it's keeping you from living it. You see, avoidant attachment is a survival response. It's a beautiful, painful, intelligent adaptation to an environment where connection was either unsafe, unpredictable, or unavailable. So you made a choice, maybe not consciously, but deeply. You decided, I will never need anyone again. I'll be the one who leaves first. I'll shut down before anyone can hurt me. And you've been living in that vow ever since. Here's the hard truth. The more you protect yourself from love, the more you hurt because you're not a machine. You're a human being. And we are biologically wired for connection, for closeness, for real intimacy, not surface level attention, not shallow conversation. I'm talking about being seen, felt, known, loved. The very thing you crave is the thing you've been pushing away. You starve yourself of the one thing that could set you free. The one who still runs the show deep inside believes love will kill them. So every time someone gets too close, your system slams on the brakes. You ghost, you withhold, you make excuses, you find flaws, you create distance because closeness equals exposure and exposure equals danger. But listen to me, that danger, that's a lie. That's old data. That's your nervous system replaying a trauma loop. It's not the truth. Not anymore. If you don't interrupt that pattern, it will keep running your life. You'll keep sabotaging every healthy relationship. You'll keep chasing emotionally unavailable partners. You'll keep feeling nothing. Not because you're numb, because you've trained yourself to disconnect the moment emotions rise. That is not peace. That is survival mode. That's a life half lived. And deep down, you know it. You feel the H at night. You feel the emptiness after another argument, another ghosting, another person you pushed away for no real reason. You feel the guilt, the confusion, the regret. But instead of facing it, you double down. You justify, you rationalize. Weren't the right person. I need to focus on myself. It just wasn't a match. But none of that changes the fact that you ran. Again, because you're scared. Again. And I'm not judging you. I'm calling you out. Because this pattern, it's not who you are, it's who you became in response to pain. And if you can become avoidant, then you can become available. If you can learn to shut down, then you can learn to open up. Not all at once. Not overnight. Moment by moment, choice by choice. The first step, recognize the lie that says closeness is danger. That says love is weakness. That says vulnerability will destroy you. Those are not your truths. They are your wounds speaking. Your job now is to stop letting your wounds make your decisions. You don't need to be better alone. You need to be braver together. You don't need to keep disappearing. You need to learn how to stay. Stay when it's uncomfortable. Stay when you feel exposed. Stay when someone sees through the mask and loves you anyway. That's your edge now. It's your next level. Not hiding, not escaping. Opening, and yeah, it'll feel terrifying like walking in a fire. But guess what? That fire, that's not destruction. That's your transformation. That's the part where the armor melts off, where the wall comes down, where the version of you that's been trapped for years finally breathes. And that breath, that's life. That's love. That's everything you've been avoiding and everything you've been waiting for. You think you're protecting yourself. You think you're guarding your peace, defending your space, keeping your heart safe from harm. But the truth is you've built a prison and convinced yourself it's a palace. You've convinced yourself that the distance you create is freedom, that the silence you maintain is strength, that not needing anyone is power. Let me tell you something you were never meant to hear. You're not protecting your heart. You're isolating it. And isolation doesn't heal wounds. It infects them. It turns pain inward and labels it independence. You are not thriving when you pull away from love. You're just surviving under a different name. And survival has a cost. One you keep paying in quiet nights, missed moments, and relationships that end before they even begin. The walls you think are keeping the world out are also keeping everything you crave from getting in. The truth is, you don't feel safe letting people close because someone once made closeness feel like chaos. Someone once turned love into a battlefield. And so now, even when someone shows up soft, patient, really you feel your body tense. You retreat. You create space. You stop replying. You shut down. Why? Because love is triggering, not because it's wrong, but because it's unfamiliar. And don't you dare confuse familiarity with truth. Just because something feels normal doesn't mean it's healthy. Just because distance feels natural doesn't mean it's what you need. You've been feeding on scraps of connection and calling it self-love. But self-love isn't cutting off everyone who gets close, isn't pushing people away before they have the chance to hurt you. Self-love is learning to stay when it gets uncomfortable. Self-love is telling the scared parts of you, I know you're afraid. We're not running this time. You don't need more boundaries. You need more bravery. Bravery to let someone see you when you're not perfect. Bravery to sit in the awkward, messy middle of human intimacy. Bravery to stop living inside your own emotional bunker and start letting the light in, because here's the brutal truth. You're not safe inside your avoidance. You're trapped. You've locked yourself away so well that now no one knows who you are, not even you. You've mistaken numbness for peace. You've mistaken control for stability. You've mistaken isolation for healing. But healing doesn't happen in hiding. Healing happens in connection. The connection you've been running from is the medicine you've been dying for. And I know you're scared. I know opening your heart feels like standing naked in a storm. I know vulnerability feels like weakness to you. But it's not. Ability is a superpower. Letting yourself be seen is an act of rebellion against every lie you were told about your worth. You were taught to armor up, to stay strong, to never let them see you cry. But that version of strong, that's not strength. That's trauma dressed up in discipline. Real strength is softness. Real strength is staying open in a world that keeps giving you reasons to shut down. Real strength is choosing love when fear would be easier. And fear has ruled your life for long enough. Fear is the voice that says, don't get too close. Fear is the whisper that says, if they really knew you, they'd leave. Fear is the old story playing on loop in your nervous system. But it's not the truth. You are not too much. You are not broken. You are not hard to love. You've just been taught to love from a distance, to feel from a distance, to exist behind glass, watching the world love and be loved while you pretend you don't care. But you do care. You care more than anyone knows. You ache more than you admit. And you've become so good at pretending not to need anyone that now you don't even know how to ask for help. But let me say this loud and clear: needing connection does not make you weak. Wanting to be held does not make you desperate. Craving intimacy does not make you broken. It makes you human, and you deserve to experience all of it. The messy, complicated, terrifying beauty of real connection. But to do that, you have to drop the armor. You have to stop protecting your heart like it's a ticking bomb. It's a ticking bomb, and start treating it like what it really is: the most powerful force in your life. You've been so busy shielding it from pain that you've also blocked it from joy, from softness, from real love. And love can't find you if you're hiding. People can't connect with a version of you that doesn't exist. If you keep showing up half available, half honest, half invested, then every connection you form will also feel half alive. This is why you keep saying, no one understands me. This is why you feel empty even in a relationship. Because your body is there, but your heart is locked in another room. You're physically present, but emotionally absent. And you wonder why it feels like something's missing. What's missing is you, the real you. You buried under 10 layers of strategy and self-protection. The one who once loved freely before they were taught that love was dangerous. That version of you, still alive, still waiting, still aching to be unchained. It's not coming out until you make a different choice. Until you stop worshiping the idea that being alone is safer. Because let's be real, alone may be safe, but it's not sacred. It's not where the magic happens. The magic happens in the risk. The trembling voice that says, I care about you. In the silence that dares to be held. In the eye contact that doesn't flinch. That's where life explodes open. That's where your frozen heart starts to thaw. And yes, it's going to feel terrifying, like walking barefoot across fire. But that fire is the purge, the reset, the rebirth. Because on the other side of emotional isolation is everything you thought you couldn't have: real love, deep joy, honest connection. The peace of finally being known. You want the truth. Here it is. Most avoidants are master liars, not to other people, but to themselves. They've convinced themselves they're better off alone. They say things like, I just don't catch feelings. No one really gets me. People always disappoint. I don't need love. I just need peace. And they repeat these mantras like affirmations, hoping that if they say it enough, become reality. But deep down, there's a scream echoing in their chest, a truth they don't want to face, that they do feel, that they are lonely, that they are starving for connection, but too scared to admit it. Avoidants lie to themselves because it's safer than feeling the full weight of what they lost, of what they never received, of what they still don't know how to hold. They lie to avoid grief. They lie to avoid shame. They lie to avoid the mirror, because if they looked at themselves honestly, they'd have to admit that the thing they keep pushing away is the exact thing they crave most. That's the terrifying contradiction of avoidant attachment. You want love so badly, but the second it gets close, you sabotage it. You run from it. You distance yourself not because it's wrong, but because it feels like danger. That's not logic. That's a survival response. That's your nervous system trying to protect you from pain it hasn't processed yet. You want to know how I know? Because I've seen it 1,000 times. I've seen people talk a big game about being unbothered, about how relationships are overrated, about how people are exhausting and they wear it like a badge of honor. You put them in front of someone who actually loves them, someone patient, kind, present, and suddenly they shut down. Suddenly they need space. Suddenly they don't feel the spark. No, what they're feeling is terror. Their feeling is a system-wide panic because safety feels unfamiliar. Chaos felt like home. So when love shows up quietly, consistently, without manipulation or intensity, it doesn't feel romantic. It feels wrong. It feels boring. It feels unsafe. And instead of facing that internal conflict, the avoidant tells themselves another lie. They're not the right person. I'm just not in the right place in life. I don't think I'm capable of deep love. Do you see it? The endless cycle of stories that are just sophisticated ways to avoid intimacy. These lies aren't accidental. They're protective mechanisms. Clever, rehearsed, unconscious, but still lies. And the longer you live in them, the deeper you sink into emotional isolation that you start calling freedom. But let's cut the noise. If you really didn't care, you wouldn't be here. You wouldn't be listening to this. Something in you knows. Something in you is waking up. Because here's what the avoidant never admits out loud. They want to be chosen. They want to be held. They want to be loved in a way that feels safe, secure, unconditional. But they don't believe that love exists. Worse, they believe they don't deserve it. So they lie to themselves instead. Because it's easier to say, I'm fine alone, than to say, I'm terrified no one will stay if they see the real me. It's easier to say, I'm just not emotional, than to say, my emotions scare me. It's easier to say, I just don't catch feelings, than to say, I don't know how to trust anyone enough to let go. But let me tell you something. Part of you that built these lies did it to protect you. You were trying to survive something, and I honor that, but you're not in that past anymore. You're here. And that armor that used to save you is now suffocating you. You've lied for so long you've started believing it, but believing a lie doesn't make it truth. And I'm here to rip the mask off. Because you deserve to feel what's real. You deserve to know that there's nothing wrong with wanting connection. There's nothing weak about needing someone. That's not dependency. That's being human. But to get there, you have to stop gaslighting yourself. You have to stop pretending that your walls are healthy. You have to stop acting like ghosting is a personality trait. You have to stop wearing your avoidant patterns like a crown. This isn't confidence. It's fear with a good PR team. And fear will keep you lonely even when you're surrounded by people. Fear will make you destroy the very thing you prayed for. Fear will make you settle for half-hearted, distant, unavailable connections because deep down you don't believe you can handle something real. So let's flip the script. If instead of lying to yourself, you told the truth for once, what if you admitted that yes, you're scared, that yes, closeness triggers you, that yes, part of you wants to run, but another part wants to stay. Another part is curious. Another part is tired of being tired. That part of you, the one that aches for real love. That's the one I'm talking to. That's the one I want you to lead with. Because the lies won't protect you forever. Eventually they rot, they isolate, they poison your joy. And one day you'll wake up surrounded by everything you avoided, silence, emptiness, regret. And you'll wish you had told the truth sooner. You'll wish you had let someone in. You'll wish you had stayed when you wanted to run. The truth is you don't lack love. You lack the safety to receive it. You don't lack emotions. You've just buried them so deep you forgot they were there. But they're there, waiting, wanting to be felt, wanting to be freed. And you can't free yourself until you stop lying about how you really feel. This is your moment, right here. This is the crack in the shell. This is the voice inside saying, I want more. You don't need to fix everything today. You don't need to have it all figured out. But you do need to stop running. You need to stop lying. You need to look in the mirror and say, I've been protecting myself for so long that I forgot how to live. That's the first truth. Say it, feel it, then go deeper. Because underneath every lie an avoidant tells themselves is a heart that still wants to love and be loved. That heart, your heart, is ready You think walking away makes you strong. You think disappearing without warning is power. You think pulling back, shutting down, going silent when things get intense is some badge of honor. It's not. That's not power. That's fear dressed up as control. That's the old self trying to survive in a new season. Let me tell you something you won't hear anywhere else. The bravest thing you'll ever do as an avoidant is not leaving. It's staying. It's staying when everything inside of you screams, are you in? It's staying when closeness starts to itch like a rash. It's staying when you feel exposed, uncomfortable, raw. Everything in your nervous system is short-circuiting from the pressure of intimacy. That moment, that's not weakness. That is the battlefield. That is the edge of your evolution. Because running is easy when all you've ever known is escape. Cutting people off is easy when rejection feels inevitable. Shutting down is easy when you've spent your whole life being punished for expressing anything real. But staying is where the fire lives. Staying is where the breakthrough begins. You've spent years mastering the art of emotional exit. You know how to ghost without flinching. You know how to emotionally detach mid-conversation. You know how to smile with dead eyes, nod while zoning out, pretend to be engaged while your soul is already halfway out the door. But here's the truth, none of that is strength. It's rehearsed pain. It's protection disguised as personality. It's killing your relationships before they even have a chance to breathe. You want real love, real intimacy, real connection. Then you're going to have to do the one thing you swore you'd never do. Stay in the discomfort. Stay in the room when the conversation gets vulnerable. Stay in the relationship when it's no longer easy. Stay when the voice in your head says they're going to hurt you. Stay when your nervous system is screaming to build another wall. Because that's where transformation happens. That's where the avoidant ends and the healed human begins. Staying doesn't mean tolerating disrespect. It doesn't mean shrinking or suppressing your truth. It means showing up with your whole self. It means choosing not to disappear when emotions get real. It means leaning in instead of checking out. And let me be clear, it's not going to feel safe at first. In fact, it'll feel like walking through fire barefoot. Because safety isn't familiar. You've trained your brain to associate closeness with danger. So of course, the moment someone starts getting through your armor, you panic, you analyze, you push them away. Not because they're bad, but because you're scared. And listen, not here to judge that fear. I get it. That fear came from real pain, real abandonment, real chaos. But you're not living in the past anymore. That same fear that used to keep you safe is now keeping you stuck. And until you face it head on, you'll keep sabotaging the very thing you say you want. So let's break the cycle. Let's do what no one taught you how to do. Let's stay long enough to see what's actually on the other side of fear. Stay long enough to realize that your partner isn't your enemy, that your emotions aren't weapons, that your vulnerability isn't going to destroy you. You keep saying you want love, but love doesn't show up on your terms only. It doesn't exist in your comfort zone. Love exists in the tension, in the fire, in the honest, unfiltered moments where you don't have a script. Love exists where your defenses drop and your humanity rises. You can't access that if you keep pulling away every time things get real. Stop chasing connection and running from it at the same time. Stop begging for closeness and punishing people when they try to give it to you. You're not protecting yourself. You're pushing people away and then blaming them for leaving. And deep down, you know it. Deep down, you know you're tired of disappearing. You're tired of being misunderstood. You're tired of the loneliness you pretend not to feel. So choose the harder path. Choose to stay, even when your chest tightens, even when your voice shakes, even when your brain invents 1,000 reasons to leave. Stay and speak, stay and feel. Stay and allow someone to see the parts of you you've buried so deep you forgot they existed. Because that's where the healing lives. Not in another escape. Not in another distraction. In another numbing cycle that you'll later call on dependence. Healing lives in the moment you breathe through the discomfort instead of avoiding it. In the moment you say, I'm scared, but I'm still here. That moment. That's everything. That's the most radical act of rebellion you can perform as an avoidant. To stay when every cell in your body says to run. Because guess what? Running might keep you alive. But staying will help you live. If you want to be fully alive, if you want to feel real love, deep connection, actual intimacy, you don't need to become someone else. You don't need to force yourself to be hyper emotional. You just need to stay. Stay and breathe. Stay and allow. Stay and learn to trust that not everyone is out to break you. That not everyone is a repeat of your past. That not every closeness ends in pain. But you'll never know that until you give it a chance, until you rewrite the narrative. Till you sit in the storm and choose not to disappear. It's going to feel foreign. It's going to feel risky, but that's because it's new, and new is uncomfortable, but new is also necessary. If you want a different life, you need to make different choices. You need to stop giving in to the old patterns that got you nowhere. You need to stop building emotional bunkers and start building bridges. There is no love without risk. There is no intimacy without courage. There is no transformation without discomfort. And the ones who grow are the ones who stay, not because it's easy. Not because it feels good, but because they know what's on the other side is worth it. That's what being brave looks like. Being human looks like. And if you've made it this far, if your heart is still beating through the armor, if your soul is still whispering that it wants more, then you're already halfway there. Now finish the process. Stay. Not just in the relationship, stay in yourself. Stay connected, stay present, stay open. Even if it breaks the rules you wrote for survival, even if it hurts, especially if it hurts, because that pain, that pressure, that fire, that's not punishment. That's the gateway to your power.